Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking all about how Wargaming are ramping up the pay-to-win 13 years into the development of their free-to-play game, World of Tanks. And they're doing it by adding on another layer of premium account, which is going to be called WoT Plus in the next patch. Now, WoT Plus will cost you $9 per month, or 8.1 euros, and if exchange rates stay the same, that's going to be £7.30. This will be a recurring subscription that you will have to cancel if you don't want more money to be taken from your payment details. And World of Tanks Plus provides a huge amount of benefits that, again, are just going to ramp up the pay to win inside the game. Now, firstly, let me talk about pay to win in World of Tanks. This is a pay to win game. It's been pay to win since the beginning. However, there are some pay to win games out there where literally you pay and you're like 100% better than your opponents and they stand pretty much no chance of being able to handle you. World of Tanks, up until this point, has always been about maybe 10, at most 20% pay to win. The better player, if they're significantly better, is always going to win. However, there are significant advantages that you can get with your money inside World of Tanks. To name a few, premium consumables. Premium consumables just mean that you have 10% extra crew skill inside the game. And 10% crew skill will mean that your vehicle is 5% better in every single regard. Now, that consumable costs you at a discount 10,000 credits per battle, which means that over the course of an evening, somebody without a premium account will lose hundreds of thousands of credits by using them. While somebody who already has a premium account, which costs 2,500 gold per month, which is roughly about $5 to $10, depending on how cheap you purchase your gold, with their 50% extra credits, will be able to afford to use those premium consumables, as long as, of course, they're not playing really badly and firing lots of premium rounds. And talking about premium rounds, they've always been pay to win in World of Tanks. Not as pay to win as they used to be, however, where you could literally only purchase them for gold. At least now you can buy them for extortionate amounts of credits, which, unless, again, you're running a premium account and you're running credit boosters, you aren't going to be able to fire too many of them. And on a free-to-play account, firing more than a handful in a battle means that you're almost condemning yourself to a horrible credit loss. Now, to be fair to Wargaming, they've actually been a lot better recently in the last couple of years. They've been giving away a lot of premium days for free, either through events like Twitch drops or just through the Battle Pass. Every 90 days, if you play and complete the Battle Pass, you can actually get 12 days of premium completely for free. It gets a big thumbs up from me, Wargaming, and it has enabled targeted free-to-play players to make large progress, both with regards to their credits and also with regards to their experience, if, of course, they kind of like save up those premium days by switching the chapters and then popping them and then playing a lot. In addition to this, premium tanks have been steadily more available for larger number of players. For example, you can get yourself a KV5 for 8,000 bonds. Now, getting 8,000 bonds can be a bit of a pain, but once you've got that tank, then you're going to be able to use it to be able to make the lots of extra lovely credits that premium tanks make. And so there's no doubt that over the years, Wargaming have enabled access to their premium content at an easier rate. So I guess what they're doing with World of Tanks Plus is they're changing the finish line once again. And now there will be free-to-play players, players with a premium account, and then players who are most likely have a premium account but also paying $9 a month to have WoT Plus. Now, I wouldn't be too concerned if WoT Plus was not a huge, tremendous advantage. And in today's video, I'm going to be highlighting all of the different ways that WoT Plus will enable you to become a power player inside the game and the huge implications that they have for not just the balance of World of Tanks, but also the economy of World of Tanks. So firstly, I want to highlight that World of Tanks Plus will give you 500 gold per week that you will be able to grind, the same as the credit reserve currently inside the game. If you have a World of Tanks premium account, you can get 750,000 extra credits per week. With a World of Tanks Plus account, you can earn 500 gold, albeit for quite a substantial amount of playing. My guesstimate is that you're going to have to play at least 100 games of World of Tanks per week to be able to get that 500 gold capped out. And if you do that, that actually means that you're going to get 2,000 gold per month from that $9 that you're spending. So a lot of people will be thinking, well, that's actually pretty good. So you're telling me I don't have to buy so much gold, I just get World of Tanks Plus, and then I grind my 100 games each week to get my 2,000 gold, and then I just top that up by 500, and then I can actually afford my premium account as well. And sure, that's very true, as long as you are willing to grind out World of Tanks week on, week off to be able to get that 500 gold filled. And I think a lot of people will find that it's actually quite a lot of work to be able to do so. Now, the problem with all of this extra gold that's going to be going into the system is that it's going to inflate the gold prices for auctions and events. You know, recently we had the Mars go into the game, and I think the minimum bid for the Mars on the EU server was 23,000 gold. Well, I can tell you the next time there's going to be an auction with all of the extra gold that players are going to have from WoT Plus, this is just going to go higher and higher and higher, meaning that you are going to have to spend more on gold to be able to compete in those auctions, or alternatively, you're going to have to just grind out your WoT Plus to be able to try and get that up to 24,000 gold per year that you will effectively grind out from your WoT Plus subscription. The next thing that WoT Plus will do for you is it will allow you to exclude an extra map. Currently in World of Tanks, everybody gets to exclude one map, premium players get to exclude an additional map, and WoT Plus subscribers are going to be able to ban a third map. This is a tremendous advantage for players who are just grinding one type of tanks. Let's say that you're a self-propelled gun player. Well, of course, you're going to ban Himmelsdorf, Ensk, and possibly Paris. Maybe if you're a light tank player, you're going to ban Runeberg, Ensk, and Himmelsdorf. Or let's say that you're grinding for a mark of excellence on a heavy tank. Well, maybe you want to get rid of Prokhorovka, Malinovka, and Sand River. What this means is that the conditions for being able to achieve some of the most competitive things in World of Tanks are going to get harder unless you have a WoT Plus account. As all people who grind for marks of excellence know, if you don't get on the right map, quite often it's going to end up with you either having you're going to have to be a lot better to have a good result. What this also means for the common player is that as more map ban slots are enabled in World of Tanks, you are going to see less artillery on Himmelsdorf, for example, or you're going to see less heavy tanks when you get matched up on Prokhorovka or Malinovka. This can actually have a tremendous bad impact for the kinds of tanks that you see on those maps. And when every heavy tank player, for example, is banning Prokhorovka, is it just going to end up with tank destroyers and light tanks and artillery all against each other? And while I don't exactly think this is going to create the apocalypse, it's just, once again, another layer on the pay-to-win cake that Wargaming are trying to create. The next thing that I want to highlight is the intensive crew regimen. And what this means is that you are actually going to get experience on your crews just for having a WoT Plus subscription active. And upon going into the test server, I figured out, and unless it's subject to change, that you will get 40 experience per 5 minutes the whole day, 24 hours a day, even if you're not logged in and not playing on one of your crews. This is going to be 11,520 experience per day, and that's over 4.2 million experience per year on one of your crews just for having a WoT Plus account. To put that into perspective, that is enough to get a 4.5 skill crew for free without Brothers in Arms. Of course, with Brothers in Arms, it'll be a 5.5 crew skill setup for literally doing nothing. And again, if you've watched my previous video about why I think that the crew changes could kill the future of World of Tanks, this comes at a time when crew experience is going to be more impactful than ever inside the game. And so, do you think it's a coincidence that Wargaming are effectively giving crew training to their WoT Plus subscribers for doing absolutely nothing, not even playing their game, when they're just implementing one of the most ill-conceived patches in World of Tanks history, which undoubtedly has pay-to-win elements as deep down as the crew fundamentals. What really worries me about this is who's to say in the future that Wargaming just don't ramp it up. Maybe they think that 40 isn't enough, and they make it 400, for example. That will enable all of their paying customers to skip the dirty grinds with those lower amounts of crew skills and jump straight into the game with all of the advantages that most players actually have to sweat a bit to be able to get. Next up, that's not all you're going to get from WoT Plus. There is also an exclusive rental tank called the TS54 that you are going to get as a rental for the duration of your subscription. However, if you cancel your subscription, you will actually lose access to the TS54. Now, statistically, this tank looks really strong. It's got great damage per minute, reasonable mobility, very nice gun depression, and having played it a few times, I can tell you that this thing's armor is pretty wild. Even if it's not using any of its gun depression, it's got 220 millimeters of upper hull armor and a turret that can take like 300 to 400 millimeters of damage. And if the vehicle gets itself on a ridgeline and it's angling that hull, it does become tremendous. And it's the first double-barreled tank in the American tech tree. But that's not really the main thing that the TS54 does, because the main feature of this exclusive rental is that it can accommodate any American crew members. Up until this point in World of Tanks, you could use any crews that you wanted of the same nation and same type. So in a premium tank or a reward vehicle. So for example, I could take my ISM crew and I could put them in my K2 and there would be no crew penalty. However, what I couldn't do, for example, is take a medium tank crew, such as on the Object 416, and then put them in a premium heavy tank without them having a 25% crew penalty. However, the TS54 is going to break those rules, and you can use any American crew that you want inside this premium vehicle. So if you want to train up your Sheridan crew, that is a possibility. Maybe you want to put your T110E4 crew in this vehicle to top it up a little bit. That's going to be a possibility for you as well. What this will mean is that once again, players will be able to train up their crews faster across a variety of different tanks, but more importantly, they will be able to use their very best crew inside the TS54. That is something that would not have been possible. If you had bought a Soviet Heavy, you better have a good Soviet Heavy crew and not just a really good Soviet medium tank crew. Which means that tanks like the TS54 are going to end up having better crews than any other tank type. And again, what concerns me is this could just be the first step of many from Wargaming for WoT Plus. Who's to say that they don't add in more tanks for their subscription service for more different nations, which will mean that when you see one of these versatile premium tanks out on the battlefield, that they are exclusively going to have very, very, very good crews in. And crew disparity in World of Tanks is one of the things that leads to tech tree tanks having 45% win ratios and premium tanks having up to like 52, 53% win ratios. Does that mean that a tank like this is going to take that even further as everybody gets to use their best crew purely because they're paying Wargaming $9 a month to have that advantage? Unfortunately, I don't really feel that I'm going to be able to get you a full review of the TS54 until the live server. And that is because you have to queue for 5 minutes on the test server to get a game in the TS54, and then it's not even really realistic with the kinds of tanks and gameplay that you have. But in the games that I did have, I really feel this is just like an Object 703-2, but arguably a little bit more flexible and possibly better. Now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we move on to the worst and most diabolically pay-to-win aspect of the new WoT Plus subscription. And that is that you will be able to demount any equipment on your account apart from experimental for free. That is including bounty equipment, and it's including bond equipment as well. This is a mind-boggling change for World of Tanks. It completely changes the game for a lot of different vehicles and for how competitive you can be. Firstly, all of you players out there who have spent hundreds of thousands on Bond equipment, yeah, you're going to cry yourself a little river, because frankly, all you really need now is two pieces of each of the Bond equipment, and you can demount it and just put it on all of your vehicles. And don't worry, I'm in the same boat as all of you. I checked on my main account and I have 17 Bond vents alone. This means that I have spent, I don't even look, 85,000 bonds alone on Bond vents. When realistically, all I need is 2 vents, unless I want to play 3 tanks at the same time because I'm playing really badly. And then just keep demounting and remounting them on all of my vehicles. What this also means is that it'll be outrageous that in the next patch, WoT Plus players will be able to demount all of their regular equipment and sell it. Because there are modifications out there that a lot of you might remember. Back in the day in World of Tanks, things like the binoculars, the camouflage net, and also the toolbox were demountable for free. And so I would have a modification that was included within XVM that would mean that whenever I clicked a vehicle, it would automatically demount the equipment, binoculars, for example, from a vehicle that I wasn't playing and then put them on the vehicle that I was wanting to play. This meant that all you really needed was like 3 or 4 different binocular telescopes rather than having to put them on each and every single one of your vehicles. And it, with a few seconds lag, it enabled you to save millions and millions and millions of credits. Now, if WoT Plus goes through with this free equipment demounting, that players like me who likely have 300 different tier 8, 9 and 10 tanks are going to find themselves able to demount 1 set of equipment and possibly a second set of equipment as well and sell it all. On average, I'd say that every single one of my tanks has about 1 million credits worth of equipment that I could sell. And then why wouldn't I just put Bond equipment on all of my tanks instead and just use an auto demounting mod to constantly be taking the Bond equipment off and putting it on my next vehicle. This will mean that WoT Plus will enable players to, if you have every single tier 8, 9 and 10 tank and you have all of the equipment on it, to get about 300 million credits at a sale price as of when this patch goes live. Consequently, as very dedicated players are going to have hundreds of millions of credits of equipment that they can sell, they will be able to spend that in upcoming events and auctions, which means that the price of participating in those auctions, at least in the short term, is going to be massively inflated and hugely in favor of the WoT Plus customers. I genuinely wouldn't be surprised to see auction prices in credits going up by at least 25, if not 50%. So if a tier 10 vehicle costs you like 30 million credits now, I think the new price is probably going to be about 45 million credits to be able to get that tank in the short term, as there are a lot of whales who have all of the tier 8s, who have all of the tier 9s, who will demount all of their equipment, sell it off because they know they're going to have WoT Plus forever, and just put Bond equipment on their vehicle instead and rotate it. And this brings me on to my main point, and that is, if you're able to put Bond equipment on every single tank, this means that WoT Plus players will literally be 2 to 3% better at everything than you in the next patch of World of Tanks. If, of course, you're not playing tanks that you have all of the Bond equipment on already, but you can be sure they will, unless they're lazy or they're just not using a demount modification. To put into a perspective what kind of a disparity it will be, here we have 2 AMX M454s. One is going to be set up in the free-to-play kind of way, and to give the free-to-play AMX M454 player every advantage, I've selected a firepower slot and I've put vents inside the first slot and a gun rammer inside the second. While the second AMX M454 is going to be putting Bond equipment in all of the slots, and remember, Bond equipment doesn't get any slot bonuses because it's just better even than regular equipment inside those slots. So the AMX M454 with the Bond equipment just has literally 100 damage per minute more because it is shaving off 1/3 of a second on its reload. We're talking about 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. That is the kind of difference that just having bond equipment will allow you to fire than a non-bond equipment player. And when it comes to those close quarters combat situations where both of you have fired at the same time, you know that the person with WoT Plus and the bond equipment is going to be able to shoot first. As vents affect pretty much everything about your vehicle, while the disparities in other areas is going to be less, because of course you don't have that 2% extra rate of fire that you have on the gun rammer, there are still advantages. 0.03 seconds aim time, 0.1 on the accuracy. Funnily enough, bond equipment in this case actually weighs less, which means that the tank with the bond equipment is going to have a better power to weight ratio and go 0.5 km/h faster on soft terrain. And that is because vents improve the ground resistances of a tank because it affects your driver's cruise skill. Which also means the AMX M454 with the bond vent is going to be turning faster, and because it has a bond durability device, it also has 100 extra hit points and repairs its track in over a second faster as well. And of course, the vents do provide a 4-meter view range advantage for the AMX M454. The weird thing about this is that all of these advantages snowball into each other. Maybe the tank that has that 5 meters extra view range won't have to ever consider using a coated optics build if it gets onto Prokhorovka or Malinovka, because that view range advantage might tip it over the edge of getting to about 450 meters view range, which is ideal to have on a heavy. You don't really want to have less than 445. Now, this is all well and good when you consider the tier 10 tanks. You might think, I can just play better than the other player. I can make up for these advantages. Well, remember, boys and girls, you don't just put bond equipment on high tier tanks. For example, you could even put bond equipment with WoT Plus on tier 2 vehicles. That's right. Now, if you're a low tier player, you might as well be playing against WoT Plus. Well, you could be playing against players who have WoT Plus and are using bond equipment at tier 2, 3 or 4 against you. Accordingly, this means that, should we say, some of the most broken tanks in the game, such as the FCM 36 Pack 40, are going to get even more scary. Because I'd say 99.9% of players would have never put bond equipment on an FCM 36 Pack 40 before, but I can tell you, when you can demount it for free, there will be a lot of pay-to-win players who have WoT Plus who will be putting bond equipment even on these low-tier tanks, because why wouldn't they? They can demount it for free and just use a modification to apply it with one click. Honestly, it's absolutely sickening what Wargaming are doing with this bond equipment demounting for free. And Wargaming, I would implore you to cancel this aspect of the WoT Plus account. In retrospect, when I take a look at all of the other features, there are advantages, sure, but I don't think they're exactly going to break the game. But I can tell you, this one with demounting bond equipment is going to affect everything inside the game. Do you want to go and get yourself some third marks of excellence? Well, you can be damn sure that the people who are setting the highest damage totals are going to be putting bond equipment on their vehicles while they are grinding them. Hell, very dedicated players already put bond equipment and they pay the demounting price when they're trying to grind to get their best stats on that tank. You can be darn sure that all of the requirements are going to get at least 1 to 2% higher for all of the vehicles, as WoT Plus players are going to be able to use the best equipment with absolutely zero downsides. But here's the thing that's really crazy about the next patch, and I showed you with my previous video. And that is that, remember that premium consumables and vents are going to affect the way that the crew skills work. And so, for example, Snapshot here, which is only actually meant to get to 15% reduced turret traverse dispersion, you can actually increase it up to 20.33 purely from using a premium consumable and using vents as well. And remember, when everybody can put bond vents on their tank, that now means that Snapshot is going to be minus 20.33% dispersion. That's like a vertical stabilizer. Do you know what's even more scary? Is that Wargaming haven't even thought about the effect that directives will have on this. And so you can get minus 40.65% turret traverse dispersion in the next patch if, of course, you're willing to spend 10,000 credits on a directive for every single battle that you play. It's clear to me that Wargaming just aren't really thinking about the implications of their actions. This entire patch seems to be ill-conceived and just throwing everything in at the same time to try and rush monetization into World of Tanks. And one thing undoubtedly that this bond equipment demounting will do is it will mean players aren't going to spend bonds on any more bond equipment. And so what do you think that will do to the auction prices for Clan Wars tanks? When you don't have to put bond equipment all the way through the year on all of your vehicles, you can be sure that it is going to go sky high, at least for the WoT Plus players, right? All of the people who can't afford to spend $9 a month on playing a game, on top of all of the gold that Wargaming want you to spend on premium time, have to spend their bonds on bond equipment to be able to make their tanks competitive. All of the WoT Plus players are going to be able to demount that bond equipment, and so they won't have to spend their bonds on any more of it. Meaning that when events come up where you get to bid bonds on rare tanks, or when you get to bid bonds on Clan Wars tanks, that you can be sure that the prices are going to massively increase. And that is really what we are going to see in World of Tanks in the foreseeable future. Rampant inflation. Wargaming creating multiple new layers on their pay-to-win cake are going to mean that players have more gold, massively more credits, at least in the short term, as you can demount all of your regular equipment and sell it, and they're going to have massive amounts of more bonds that they will be able to spend on things. And you can be sure as well, when Wargaming know that the pay-to-win, or WoT Plus customers have all of those extra bonds, that when they're thinking through extra events for the future, they will probably set the prices higher to a point where regular customers who actually have to buy bond equipment are going to simply just never be priced into the equation. And all of this, it really just depresses me. Was having premium time not enough? Wargaming, was buying like 100 loot boxes at Christmas not enough? Now we're having the loot boxes every 3 months. It feels like we've got premium tanks going in every other week into the game. And now you want us to pony up $9 a month just to have a huge advantage inside the game. Honestly, it sickens me. The pay to win in World of Tanks has always been kind of like the elephant in the room. A lot of people would never accept it, but let me tell you, this game has always been about 10 or 20% pay to win. That's the fact of the matter. But when Wargaming keep introducing these advantages for more and more, again, layers on this pay to win cake, that they're not even micro advantages anymore. They are insane economy advantages that I can only see Wargaming increasing in the future. And my final word to Wargaming will be, if you really need some cash, that's okay. I can understand the gold per week. I can understand the excluded map. I can understand the intensive crew regimen, even at a time where crew are about to become as pay to win as ever. I can even understand the TS54 that you will have to keep paying every month to have. And I can even go as far as to say that giving all of your super premium customers free regular equipment demounting, that's okay. But Wargaming, please, 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 please do not go ahead with bond equipment demounting for free. This will have an insane effect on some of the most precious economies that you have, and will rampantly increase the pay to win and the competitiveness of a lot of premium tanks at tiers where vehicles do not need a bond equipment advantage. You know for a fact that you'll be seeing Panzer V4s using bond durability devices or bond turbos driving around the map crazy like. You absolutely know that some little gremlin out there is going to put bond coated optics and a bond turbo on their FCM 36 Pack 40 because it's just going to cost them $9 a month to be better than everyone else. But my point is that when you do this, you completely open up the floodgates to broken low-tier tanks getting even more so for a large majority of players who would have never have put bond equipment on them in the first place. So Wargaming, please, 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 if you want to put WoT Plus in, fine, go ahead. But do not enable free bond equipment demounting. This will ruin the balance of the game and give your extremely high-paying customers an advantage that nobody else is going to compete with. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that was it for today. Once again, a video that I really wish I didn't have to make, and I hate making these kind of videos. But I hope all of you enjoyed it, thought it was useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know in the comments down below what you think about all of the WoT Plus features. Do you think they look outrageously pay to win? Or do you think that they don't really matter? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.